Some of you might have noticed the Bee Hive. As a public service announcement, I recommend to make the day go smoother, let's just not wake them up, okay? It's a joke, it's a prop, as far as you know. What we have here is 3 pounds of pure local honey, 1 quart of a precious substance that naturally wards off infection, provides allergy relief, and generally boosts the immune system, not to mention tastes great on biscuits. It's made mostly from plant nectar with a dash of pollen and bee enzymes and is thickened through evaporation with the help of countless flapping bee wings. It takes 12 bees their entire lives just to make 1 teaspoon of it. Yeah, which means this jar represents the life's work of 2,300 bees traveling 165,000 miles to visit 6 million flowers. 6 million flowers that, because of their visit, have the potential to become food for life as we know it. And a healthy hive can produce 20 to 30 of these a year. Sounds like a lot of hard work, doesn't it? And it is, for the bees, but not necessarily for the beekeeper. I hope that after you hear how relatively easy it is to keep honeybees, you'll go out and start your own household hive. Not just to reap the physical benefits of it, but also the intrinsic rewards that include having the peace of mind of knowing that you are taking an active role in the custodianship of this amazing species and our spectacular planet. I'm not exaggerating when I say that you can help the world by keeping bees. To start, let's get to know the hive. Think of the bee hive as a superorganism known as a colony, made up of individuals that probably wouldn't survive very long on their own, who work together in highly specialized divisions of labor to create a surviving entity that lives and breathes and reproduces and creates, and of course can die if it gets sick. It's the job of the beekeeper as custodian to make sure this entity is healthy and thriving and has every chance to live a long and fruitful life. Having a strong hive is not just about stealing what surplus it makes for our own use, but more importantly, maintaining a delicate cog in the engine of the ecosystem to do what it's supposed to do. Now, each hive contains a single egg-laying queen, hundreds of male drones, and perhaps 20 to 80,000 female worker bees. Their jobs are separate and distinct. The queen, she lays the eggs to maintain the population of the hive. The male drones are there just to mate. That's all they do. They don't even have stingers. Basically, they lay around the hive apartment all day, eating up everything in the fridge, waiting for the opportunity to mate with some future virgin queen. And the remaining thousands of female worker bees, well, they do everything else. My wife would say this makes them more like humans than we're willing to admit. But those female worker bees are in charge of hive construction, repair, cleaning, defense, rearing of the young, foraging for nectar and pollen, and of course, making honey. If all goes well, together they form this superorganism that's primary purpose is to facilitate the exchange of pollen between plants that is necessary to keep our planet alive. Thousands of years ago, we humans discovered there were byproducts to this primary purpose, such as honey, wax, and improved health. The honey is food. Need I say more? The wax can be used for so much more than the traditional beeswax candles. It can be used as a key ingredient in ointments that will offer itch relief and pain relief. It can be used in lip balm, beard balm. I'm using some right now. This thing would poke your eyes out if it wasn't for beeswax. You think I'm joking? Beeswax can also be used in your cooking. It can give your pastry crust that extra crunch, and it can be used around the home. Like if you have a tenacious drawer that sticks when you try to open it, I think we've all got one of those. All you have to do is wipe some beeswax along the wood runner, and voila, it slides easily in and out. You will never break a nail or sprain a finger trying to get to a pair of socks ever again. I speak from experience. So, what about the improved health? When you consume honey, you're ingesting trace amounts of local plant pollen, that same kind of pollen that wreaks such havoc on your system during different parts of the year. You eat enough of it consistently, and you'll build up a resistance to those pollens and decrease the severity of your allergy symptoms, if not get rid of them altogether. Excuse me. Now, this is probably a good time to talk about that one allergy that some of you think might disqualify you from beekeeping, being allergic to bee stings. Any bee sting allergies out here? Well, we have to understand that honeybees don't like to sting. They can only sting once in their lives. They die right after. They lose their sting after they use it. So they're very hesitant to waste that sting, waste their lives on something that's not a direct threat to the hive. So basically, if you play nice, they'll play nice as well. But no matter how careful you are, there's always a chance that you're going to get stung. So for you people who are lethally allergic to bee stings, it's very important that you take the special precautions of wearing the right protective gear, having an EpiPen, and having an emergency plan just in case. You have to weigh the risks, but they are manageable. So I just didn't want you to think that you had to give up the idea totally. But before I scare you away, let's move on. How about improved health on a larger scale, on a global scale? Now, when honeybees collect the nectar and pollen that is necessary to keep their planet alive, they inadvertently pollinate plants. Plant pollination is vital for ecosystems around the globe and results in not just more food for us humans, but more food for all of the animals down the food chain. It is estimated that 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat can be directly attributed to pollinators like the honeybees, and almost all of our food can be connected to them indirectly. This is supported by scientists, so I'm not making it up, scientists who have studied crop yields and find that there is a significantly greater growth in plants when in proximity to a beehive, sometimes as much as 70% higher than those that aren't. So this would be true of your backyard garden as well. The bottom line is, the more bees there are, the more food there is. Steal a cup of water here. Should drink the honey. So if these physical benefits aren't enough to get you to go out and start your own hive and save the world, maybe some of the intrinsic rewards will tip the scales. Now, folks, we live in a fast and furious world. And in our attempt to keep up with the ever-increasing pace of life, we experience heightened levels of anxiety, frustration, and distraction. These are important things that we need to avoid. They can be mitigated by beekeeping. When a beekeeper works a hive, whether it's in maintaining, planning, inspecting for health and production, beekeepers experience higher levels of focus and attention. A calm mind and deliberate movements are important for working a beehive. It's very meditative. I would say that it's a kind of meditation and good for the mind. And as Sir Paul McCartney once said, meditation is a lifelong gift. It's something we can call on at any time. And even though he didn't technically write a song about meditation, he was a Beatle. And I think you Beatle fans would agree that that puts his opinion on such matters as high as the Dalai Lama. So, how do you get started on the road of a household hive and the zen of beekeeping? I suggest you reach out to your local Beekeepers Association. There's hundreds of them around the country. We have a very active and helpful Beekeepers Association right here in the Holland area called, strangely enough, the Holland Area Beekeepers Association. Shouldn't be too hard to Google. But a Beekeepers Association is a great source for answering questions, finding mentors, gaining education, and locating the closest supplies and support. They might tell you what types of hive to use, where to put them. They can also give you reasonable expectations of your beekeeping experience, clue you into the details and the hard stuff. One of the things they might do as far as the styles of hives, they might suggest a top bar hive or a Langstroth hive. These are probably the two most popular types of hives when it comes to household beekeeping. The top bar hive, the one you see up here on the left, is cheaper and easier to build yourself. It's less invasive on the bees, and it's probably better for people that have like physical lifting requirements or restrictions. The Langstroth hive, the one you see on the right and the one down here full of crazy bees, is offering opportunities for more honey production, more manageable options to actually work the hive, and probably better accessibility to components and supplies. An association can also tell you where you can and should keep bees. Now, household beekeeping can be done anywhere. It doesn't make a difference if you live in the country, in the suburbs, or even in a busy city. An association can tell you about possible local ordinances that might restrict your beekeeping, and they can even give you like alternative locations to keep them if those restrictions exist. But remember, local ordinances can be changed if enough people want them to change. So regardless of what type of hive you get, where you decide to put it, once you factor in the initial cost of the hive, necessary equipment, and of course the bees, you can probably get into household beekeeping for less than $500. And after that, you're probably looking at a minimal annual expense and probably an investment of time of as little as 1 hour per week per hive. I mean, we're talking that's something that you can handle over a lunch break. So let's take a moment to imagine a future where everyone is keeping a household hive and plans for it like they would any other home appliance or accessory. The bees are working hard, buzzing happily through the air. I got a picture of them right there doing it. The honey they produce has replaced all your need for sugar in your diet. Children are dancing barefoot in the tall grass, munching enthusiastically on their honey cookies. Your garden is packed full. It's huge. It's producing tomatoes the size of your head, ears of corn as long as your arm. Butterflies fill the sky like a Technicolor storm front. War and disease have been eradicated. Chickadees and whippoorwills land on your shoulders and sing classical music. Are you with me? Yeah, I feel it too. All right, some of it's a fantasy. Some is a fantasy. But the reality of a future of household beekeeping is still a very cool thing. And that reality looks like this: more food, healthier lives, and a healthier planet. Remember, you can help the world by keeping bees. Thank you very much.